Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April 12th, 2023 meeting of the Stoughton Redevelopment Authority. This meeting is being conducted in a hybrid fashion, and it is being recorded by Smack Cable Television and broadcast live, and may be live streamed at www.stoughtontv.org. A recording of the meeting, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the proceeding will be posted on the town's website and Smack as soon as possible after the meeting if live broadcast or live streaming is unsuccessful. Times are approximate and items may be taken out of order at the chair's discretion. I would ask for a motion to open the meeting.
Motion open.
Second. Thank you. All my members are here, so I don't have to do a roll call. The hybrid aspect is for the public. So all those in favor of opening?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
I'd like to stand and pledge the allegiance, if you can, please, to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. All right. First item of business tonight is public comments. Are there any members of the public who would like to make a comment at this time? Seeing anything? Chairman's comments. I just have one quick comment. I want to welcome Bob Desmond to the Redevelopment Authority, who was successful in beating the blank votes. I've known Bobby a long time. It's going to be a pleasure to have him on board, and I welcome you. So thank you for your interest in me. Appreciate it. Thank you. Any comments from the members?
Just one comment, just to reinforce that we'll be attending the planning board meeting tomorrow evening. We'll be asking them for a vote to ensure that our urban renewal plan fits within the master plan per se. So that will be taking place at 7 o'clock tomorrow evening
At the library.
At the library. We don't. We posted that we would be convening, but we also pulled our membership. Looks like we won't have to come. Myself and Jeff from PSC, our consultants, will be making a presentation requesting.
However, if any member does choose to go, we do have an agenda set for it. So
Can I say something on the planning board? Tomorrow night is the caucus,
yes.
and now I know this was planned, and I know that town meeting members are the only voters in the town of Stoughton who would be interested in knowing what the urban renewal plan. But there may be less people knowing about it. Just a thought for the public hearing. I mean, it is.
So, that's a great point, Roberta. It was advertised as a public hearing. However, it was not necessary for the planning board to hold a public hearing. Our intent has always been to hold our main public hearing with the select board. We just felt that was a bigger audience. I mean, I'm not trying to be rude, but it was indeed a bigger audience. So that was taken into consideration. With that said, I have no issue that the planning board is holding a public hearing. It gives some the opportunity to speak if they so choose. And we value the input that we get from these meetings. But our public hearing, and I can't control how they plan the caucus, but we intend to have that on a Tuesday, and there's very little that happens on Tuesday except for school committee and select board. So, but thank you for that. Any further comments? Administrative comments. Donna, you got any?
Sure, I'll be quick. Reggie Maderos from Town Hall called me to inform me there were 2 file cabinets down in the basement of Town Hall that they came across with SRA files in them from the 1960s. They are at the Hanson School right now, so I will have to ask someone to help me go through them. They contain financial letters and correspondence, but some of it we could probably get rid of. The other thing is, there's still furniture there, that we added when we moved, and it's been there about 9 months, so I think we need to make a decision since we're the ones that put the furniture in the school there. We have 2 file cabinets full of duplicate records that need to be shredded. There are copies of agendas and duplicate minutes. I have scanned all of the minutes for the SRA from the 1963 to 2023 onto the town website. However, 1963 and 1964 have not transferred over from the old website to the new website yet, and I have made Trish aware of that because the old website will be disappearing shortly.
She's working that out.
I emailed her. I have
So
not.
she's working, do we have an open ticket on it? That's what I'm getting at.
I will, I emailed her, so. And then I did order, I mentioned to Bob that I ordered a nameplate for him, and I put a ticket in to have your name, put on the SRA, page of the town website.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Bobby, do you have a Stoughton Mass account already where you've been on FinCom?
I do have FinCom, yes.
Okay, so when you speak with Trish, make sure that she attaches that email that he already has with the town to the SRA.
Number 3, yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep track of everything.
We'll do.
And if necessary, she can eliminate one of the 2, but
Okay.
just make sure that
Can
that's.
I make a comment?
Please.
So the stuff that was in the town hall, why didn't it just come across the street? How did
Too
it?
much of it.
It's 7 boxes.
So they couldn't have brought it here?
Oh, I boxed it up myself.
She had
So
to do
you
it.
boxed it and brought it to the Hanson?
Yes.
Right.
Instead of boxing it and bringing it here?
Yes.
I can bring it here.
Where,
I mean,
where do you want to
well-
put it?
I don't, boxes, just stack it up. I guess I'm thinking, why would you drive all the way to the Hanson when you could just bring it across the street?
Because there
Because it's
wasn't,
gonna have to end up here anyways.
not necessarily. I didn't know what it was, so
Okay.
when she pulled it out, we were forced to get it out quickly from the town hall with the
I
floods.
mean, they are having a shredding event,
Yeah.
May 11th.
That's correct.
I've asked Dawn already to coordinate that,
Okay,
Stephanie.
so.
Oh, no, this is the Council on Aging shredding event.
Oh.
This is not Stephanie.
Okay, but I did speak to you about coordinating. with
Anybody
Stephanie
in
on
the town.
shredding.
Okay.
May 11th, yeah, I think it's 10. Whatever, something like that.
If we can bring the stuff there, I have no issue
Right.
with that.
There's quite a bit. The only other comment in terms of our rules and members, could you also change the, put his name on the letterhead?
Yeah.
It is on the letterhead already. As you notice, it's on tonight's agenda.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, so
Good.
thank you though for bringing that to my,
Anything else, Dawn?
nope, that's it.
All right.
No,
Moving on, tonight we have Bartholomew with us. Bartholomew and Company is our investment folks, and they are here tonight for investment portfolio. If you'd be kind enough for those who will watch this in the future to identify yourselves. The floor is yours.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Brian Jermos. I'm from Bartholomew and Company. I'm on the outside advisory team. And we have Kathleen Klawacki. She's the director of the internal investment management team. Just to give you a brief, and then we'll get right into it. Mr. Chairman, how many minutes do you allot for us?
Whatever time you need.
Okay, great.
This is
So,
important to us, and you have all the time.
sure.
I mean,
so-
don't take all night.
No. I have to pick my daughter. at 8:00.
No more than 2 minutes. No, okay.
Nice. So you probably haven't met, you haven't met me before, and you haven't met Kathleen. We do, you've been working with us since 2014. We used to rotate our team, if you can remember, 14, 15, and 16, somewhere along the way, we stopped doing that. Then COVID hit, we had a changeover in our staff, not a changeover, but a retiree. I joined 7 years ago, Kathleen joined 7 years ago. Then we had COVID and then a fire in our building. So we kind of stopped rotating. We're now starting to rotate again this last year. So you'll get to meet all of us. We get to meet you, which is exciting. And we keep copious notes so we don't have to, you don't have to educate us on what's going on. So don't worry about that. I'll give you the highlight and then we'll get right into it. So Bartholomew and Company is a independent advisory firm located out of central Massachusetts, right out of Worcester. We are partnered up with the largest privately held independent broker dealer called Commonwealth Financial Network. They're kind of our backroom office, not kind of, they are. They're our cybercrime security, our legal, our compliance. I don't know the last I counted, they had 1,000+ members strong on the team backing us up. They're out of Waltham, Massachusetts. And then our custodian, which is NFS, is National Financial Services, which all your funds are in the custodian of them. They're holding it with your tax ID and your name. That's a little bit about us. I'll give you the high level. We deal with, we're about 3.9 billion assets under management. We have some private wealth, and we have 2.3 billion in municipal space or institutional. That represents about 270 municipal entities, or roughly around 231 cities and towns in Massachusetts. Bottom line is we specialize in mass general law for investing in municipal entities.
It's your meat and potatoes.
That's our meat and potatoes. We have a whole team dedicated towards it. We have 4 advisors. I'm one of 4. You'll probably only meet 3 of us because the other one lives out in Lee, Massachusetts. So we're rock in New York almost. Kathleen's been with us 7 years. She's the internal investment management team. She's part of it, and she's the director as well. So we'll get right into it. Did everybody get a copy electronically? Michelle couldn't be here tonight. She double booked. We used to dealing with Michelle.
We are, yeah, that's okay.
She's prettier than I, but we're being recorded, sorry. I was gonna say don't tell her, but now she knows. And what we're gonna do here is we've had some tough markets. You have enough copies? We're good?
Yeah, thank you.
If you need any addition, let us know. So without further ado, I'm going to have Kathleen go over the review with you. Stop us along the way if you have any questions. This portfolio is set at 30% equity and 7% fixed income. Both equity and fixed income took a hit last year. Kathleen will go over that. Kind of a historic event. Usually when the stock's down, bonds are up. It's usually balanced, but last year was never happened in history, or at least for the last 200 whatever years. It's never happened. So Kathleen, without further ado.
Okay, great. So on page 1, we have all, well, not just page 1, the whole packet here, we have all activity as of the end of last month. So we try to give you, pretty up-to-date figures.
Yes.
So you can see the value of this account, just over 640,000 as of March 31st. And then page 2, this is just a visual representation of just how the allocation has changed over time. So if you look all the way to the left, for example, that bottom, I know this is probably hard for the screen, but I'll explain it.
Do we have a presentation from you?
We do. Digital? Do we have a digital copy by chance?
It's in the packet.
Yeah, do you have it's not gonna do me any good.
And I can, let's see, where can I?
Well,
I can pull it up too.
I'm trying to be
Present from,
descriptive.
are you plugged into your account on that computer?
I'm into SRA.
So pull it up on that. You have access to your emails. You know? You can continue while
Okay,
you're working
sure.
on that. Thank you.
Yeah, so really, a lot of this is numbers, and the visual is just really a point to say that in the very beginning, the portfolio was a little more conservative.
Mhm.
And so over time, we've added a little bit more equity. You can see that on that bottom dark, or no, I'm sorry, opposite around. It was more aggressive and we made it more conservative over
Right.
time.
Which is common for municipal.
Yes, and also, well, I'll get to this. This is another point I'll make about that. But on page 3, you have on the left-hand side all of the activities since inception. So as Brian said, this portfolio was opened with us in June of 2014. And so there was one initial contribution of $500,000. And then we have withdrawals, realized gains, unrealized interest, and then dividends. And so I want to note in this portfolio, The only equity we own is considered dividend paying stocks. So we don't own any technology or healthcare, any kind of your growthier types of equities. That was a decision made, kind of pretty much from the very beginning. So that's really, the bulk of what you gain has been in dividends. Bringing you to that ending balance of just over 640, so that's a total gain after fees of just about $140,000, which is an annualized return, again, net of fees of just under 3%, at 2.91%. Then on the right-hand side, we have the fiscal year. So it's been obviously a very tumultuous market, but even over the fiscal year since July 1st of 2022 up until March 31st of 2023, the portfolio has been up 2.42%. And then I just feel bad about this last. I want to talk about the visual here. So I'll just,
I can email it to you if you want.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Find it?
I'm trying and I can't find it.
It's done, all right.
Great.
Okay, here we go. Okay.
It was encrypted anyway, so
Wow.
I'd have to.
Can I ask you a question while they're searching?
Sure.
I know this goes back to 2014 and nobody's here in 2014, but do you know what the 22,000 was withdrawn?
That would probably just be fees over that time frame.
And the withdrawal,
Yeah,
and the withdrawal on the right, the 2,000 from the, okay.
Yeah,
So your fees are considered.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, they are. I
That's
know
fine.
it's a little, I should have mentioned that.
Yeah.
Confusing
Right, I
wording.
should say fees.
Should be all that is, yeah.
That's fine.
While you're doing that, at one point,
Here it is.
we were close to, or actually in excess of $700,000. And I started seeing the economy, and up until recently, to the end of 2022, as a treasurer, I talked to Andrew Ward. He's a financial guy. And we had, started taking a look and thinking, because of the recession, because we were starting to lose more, it started to take an uptick, particularly this, I think last month we lost about $16,000.
That's where it's out there.
In March, it became about 1,000 some odd dollars. We were thinking about the possibility of converting some of those bonds into treasury bills, from a conservative basis to the house fund. And we wanted to know from folks, if that seemed like a wise move, or not so wise move, or just be patient and wait it out.
Yes, so you own treasuries in this account, so I can get to that, yeah, and so, I would say for what your purposes are, if they really truly are long-term, I wouldn't go that direction unless, you're very, very conservative as it is, and I'll jump ahead, if you don't mind, you're on the perfect page. So this page, exactly, and this is kind of what I think is very, very important. If you look at the line of 2022, the second to last column, where it says Bloomberg Global Aggregate Bond, that's all of your bonds in, the world, basically. A large majority of that is treasuries. And so if you look at 2022, bonds were down 16.25%. And so on a global basis, yeah. A little bit better here, but still down, I think, 13%. If you look at the US universal. So my point being with that is really, a lot of the bleeding was because of the bonds. And so while that doesn't mean, that doesn't fix anything, I just think that if you're going to want to see a recovery, bonds don't really recover the same way that equities do. And so I think we, again, think long-term. We still think there are lots of issues in the market, a lot of political issues, global issues. There could be a lot more volatility in the market, but in the long run, what is going to get you that growth is that equity exposure. And even more so, just to point that out as well, if you look at the third, I know it's a lot of jargon letters here, but the third to last column, the MSCI ACWI, that's just global stocks. So if you look at that very bottom bold line, annualized, the stock portion has been up 7.35%. But in the same time frame, if you look one to the right, annualized bonds have been down about 36%. So I mention that because it's really, that's all total return. Treasuries are paying a lot right now, but if we go into a recession and, you know, the economy starts to unravel, those rates will be cut pretty quickly, theoretically. So I know that's a long-winded answer, but I think for your purposes, from what I know it's usually Michelle here, but from what I understand it, where you are makes sense.
How do we define long?
I would say long-term for the initial contribution. I mean, that would be my interpretation.
In terms of what time?
In terms of, will you ever need to take this money, sell things, and use the money? That's my interpretation of long-term. Unless you need this tomorrow,
No.
I wouldn't worry about it. It's really my thought.
I know the other thing is how active are you in thinking about it?
Yeah, we're pretty active. So first of all, we have our risk profile. So we have the parameters you've given us, kind of overall parameters. So we won't go beyond that. You know, we're not going to sell all of our bonds and buy a ton of equity. So we stay within that. But we make changes to rebalance at least annually back to those parameters. And then we make changes just based on what's going on in the world. And so, for example, and to your point as well, if you look at page 6 on there and here, the very bottom of page 6, the domestic bond portion, if you look at the initial purchase dates, you can see we added quite a bit. In 2022, we added some short-term treasuries, long-term treasuries, mortgages for some really just diversification. But the point being that we said, okay, treasuries are the place to be. We want to take some risk off the table and buy the safest investment at a higher rate. So we're always in here trying to just really mainly on the margins, make some changes. Another quick example, if you look at your alternatives bucket, which I know I'm kind of jumping around now, but we have a sleeve of alternatives in there, which are there to smooth out the ride. They behave differently than traditional equity and bond markets. And so, for example, you have a fund in there that's called the Managed Futures Fund. And all that is it's commodities. So when, including oil, mainly oil. And so when everything happened in Russia and Ukraine, the only part of the market, the only position that did well was oil. Prices went up. So that's just a function of what happened. So that position did really, really well. And so we sold a whole chunk of it and at a gain and reinvested it into other areas. So we're making those kinds of changes as well. I wouldn't say tactically, but when opportunities allow, we'll do that.
As a follow-up to Andrew's question around long-term, we're probably thinking, not tomorrow, but we're probably thinking somewhere within 5 years. Does that work within the structure?
I think so. Yeah.
Yes, a couple of things. So to answer your question, yes. So as soon as you know you have a project that's coming up, let us know, and then we can look at that even further. A couple of things just to give you a perspective, and we can back up a couple of things. We kind of jumped around, which is fine. I mean, we work for you, so what do you want, right? So let's just back up. I want to give you a perspective. So this is a 30/70 portfolio. Just a couple of points of reference, if you can check page 5. You know, we've been in a low interest rate environment for 10 to 12 years prior to last year. Real low environment.
Free money.
Free money, right? Exactly. You know, this portfolio was with a 30/70. And it's not a true 30/70 because we do have alternatives. The alternatives before the downturn, we're targeting more to 15 to 20. It's a position that our internal investment management team does, so that when we come out of this, we get our targets to outperform everything, or at least our benchmarks, let's put it that way. But a couple of points of reference, the 10-year treasury, just in general for the last 10 years, the average return, if you average it out for the last 10 years, including last data point of last year in December, it was 1.32% return. That's just one point of reference. The second point of reference is if you go back to page 5 of 12, a 30/70 portfolio with this mix, you know, we're targeting, you know, what, 4%, 3%, 3% in a low interest rate environment, because the 70% of your portfolio, everything's low. I mean, car loans were not, you know, I think I got my last car loan in 18 for like 1%. I mean, that's crazy, right? But now look at this. Look back at 19. 19, you had a 12.44% return. By the way, that's the first time you saw the inverted yield curve, and they said, "No, wait a minute. Yeah, we're gonna have a down market." Actually, in 18, look at that, negative 4.37. That was right. We had the best market ever, right? They were saying that in early August, September, and then look what happened in the fourth quarter. But let's look at 19, 12.44, 20 is 6.05, 21, 907. And you're looking at targeting a rate of return at 3 to 4% conservatively, and those are the returns. And then 22, you had a drawdown. And unfortunately, 22 was a crazy year with battling inflation. The Fed raised the rates, what, 7 times total? So 1.5%.
We're not done yet.
Yeah, I was just talking 22, I'm sorry. But you're right, they're not done yet. But in 22, 50 basis points in March, and then six or seven more times, 75 basis points, bringing the overnight lending rate from 0.25 to 4.25, 4.5. So
5.5 almost now.
crazy, right? So
At least from a municipal standpoint, we're looking at 5.5% right now. Stoughton is,
for borrowing,
yeah.
yeah, that's crazy. And that's the renovation of the building.
No, we've had a number of things come up.
Crazy.
I mean, there was a bond that was written back in 2015, didn't get released until recently.
A crazy rate. I'm just trying to give you kind of a perspective here. So to answer your question, you know, so that's a couple of things to look at. We do have some treasuries in there. We can be positioned. You know, if you need the money tomorrow, that's a different discussion than whether we get the money in 3 years. This is still a very conservative portfolio, 30/70. We're not taking a lot of risk. Last year, you couldn't find any place to invest. Really, it was really hard. Oil, yeah, I mean, we could have done that, although municipals are a lot less, municipals in general are a lot less interested in investing in oil. They're actually trying to get away from it, right? Fossil fuel and all that good stuff. What other questions do you have, or do you want to keep
Well,
going?
if you look at page 3, I know we skipped around, but this is my favorite part of this. So page 3,
The bottom half?
yeah, the bottom half. So I just think visually, if this is any comfort of, you know, what you've gained. I know we're talking about the negative 2022, but what you put into the portfolio, you can even see up till pretty much 2016. There wasn't much going on, you know, this portfolio was pretty stagnant. And then you have, you know, smooth and steady, again, this is very conservative. So the ride up until COVID, which is that sharp downturn, really drastic move, we stayed invested, and in fact, we put more risk on the portfolio at that time. And so I bring that back just because you can see how quickly things recovered. And now, of course, more volatility, you know, up until basically September, and now some improvement. So I guess the point with that is, if you know, if you have something 5 years out, that's good for us to know. I just think that, where you are is very, very conservative as it is, but we'll do whatever, of course, we want, but.
Yeah, this IPS was drafted by the board of powers to be at the time, and we're just following that. You've given us full discretion to manage within the IPS. But we're only doing, we're only making changes on the margin, still following your targets, in the max. So,
My only question would be, and I agree with the prior board that this should be a conservative investment. Are we too conservative in comparison to other municipalities? That would be my question to you. And if so, what could we consider to do?
You are, yes.
Even this, yeah.
Mhm.
So as an authority, we really, and you're a financial guy. This is more or less foreign to me. I have a tendency to allow them to do their work, but I knew that this was very, very conservatively invested. So I think from our perspective as an authority, we need to at least think about that and give them an answer in the future. It's not something you need to make a decision on right now, this moment. But if you'd be kind enough to consider what would be some of the
I don't know,
balances.
what are other municipalities?
Yeah, why,
No, if it's a,
That's
if
a
it's
great
a
question.
30/70, where, I know it's a big general question.
it is a big general question, and it's all over the map, right? It depends on what the monies are for. Typically, monies like this that haven't been touched in a while, probably closer to 60/40, I would say, for these types of funds. Now, we have, we have the gamut, and, we deal with, like I said, 270 minutes quantities. If you have this mixed in with some other types of funds like stabilization, which is your town hall's emergency fund, that's different. That would drag down. A lot of the towns don't want to be bothered with multiple accounts, so they merge it all together. And they say, okay, well, these funds are more aggressive because there's a lot of non-expendables in there. And these funds are more, hey, we need the stabilization when COVID hits and the markets are down 34%. We don't want to recommend more than 10% equity on that. And by the way, that's by statute and the Mass General Law. So you can invest 100% equity, but you can only invest in the legal list of investments. So we can go into all the detail later on that, but for this exercise for you, I would say about 60, 40, 65, 35 is kind of the.
So you're only talking about 5%.
but that 5 to 10% could make a difference on this as far as recovery.
It would be
goes.
30%.
Yeah, 30%
So-
swing from where you are.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
Yes.
you guys are at 30, 70.
Yes.
I thought,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually thought we were at 70-30 as well.
no, I knew you were, but I was saying it because I'm like, all right, that's commonly what you would see in the 70-30 or 60.
Right.
Not 37.
Right, the other.
Correct.
The other way around.
Exactly.
All
Correct.
right.
But remember, municipalities historically, it was burned in, we've been working with the municipalities for 25 years. Plus, their mantra has always been safety, liquidity, and yield. But those have been burned in your treasurer's brains for years because that was general fund. This is a different pool of money. So, but to try to get, so our treasurers in the state of Massachusetts are historically conservative. Does that make sense?
No, it does.
And the state's even more conservative, by the way. They don't even allow equities exposure, so.
What we even rarely, I
So
mean,
it's flipping where we are.
Yeah.
In its entirety.
Yeah.
yeah,
Which I don't know that I'm comfortable with.
No, I mean, some people shall maintain this for a couple of lost.
I know.
Yeah, and we're here too. We're independent. We get paid the same whether we're completely neutral in that regard. We're trying to look at it from a perspective of what's your time horizon? What you're trying to accomplish? What are you comfortable with? That's important. I mean, you can't go against your comfort level either. So, and in the past, this was the comfort level. So, if you're not comfortable with seeing that negative 11%, well, then I wouldn't recommend you move up to 60, 40 because.
Or 40-60.
Or 40.
You got me on.
Yeah. So
Is there any cash in this account?
is there?
Like, when you switch things over, sometimes no.
No, you mean just cash as a.
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so on page 7, you'll see we keep very, very little.
Okay.
Under normal circumstances, it's better to have it go
Okay,
with,
sorry.
under normal circumstances, it's better to be invested. Right now, cash is obviously paying you
Well,
off, but normally,
No, the only reason why I asked, because I know you would probably do, I'm just saying like a I'm gonna call it a CD, a 6-month CD that's paying, or a 12-month CD that's probably paying maybe 3 or 4%. And it's a short term, but at least you know that even like this cash, I think is less than I thought it'd be. So you throw it in one of these CDs at 4%, at least it's better than making 0%, but this only appears to be $600. So it's not gonna get us very far, but, you know, it's a guarantee for, I don't know what your rate is right now, even if there was a short amount of change that you put in there. What is your rate for like an 18-month or
Yeah, so we have access to, CDs, securitized CDs. Those are actually paying less than 2%. Banks don't need your money right now across the country.
I'm not giving it
They
up.
have way too much. And they're concerned with losing their different insurances, if you're with a savings bank. Now they're forced to give a little bit more. Now you may find a bank here, I just saw a sign coming in, 4.75. You're gonna see that, but they may be looking for their deposit to loan ratio maybe too low, so they may be trying to build out their balances, get new money, but that's on the new money, right? But we have access to treasuries, which we do have in here. We do have access to treasuries. Treasuries are, well, what are your yields on your treasury? Let's just take a look here. Well, actually, these are,
a 3-month treasury is paying about 5%. So, and that's the highest. So if you go out farther than that, you're making less than 3%, or than the 3 months, I'm sorry. 5% at the 3 months is the highest treasury right now. So we can do that. We can.
I'm just throwing it out there
Yeah.
first, short of not talking a huge amount of money, but if you can grab it, while the rate is good, so it's 3 months, whatever.
So,
But
But what they're saying is the treasury kind of satisfies.
Yeah.
the option.
Yes.
Using treasuries as opposed to.
yes, treasuries are actually, you're backed by the United States government. What's that?
they're a bit safer.
Yeah, I mean, your FDIC, everybody's, Silicon Valley Bank, let's face it, everybody wants FDIC. Well, in these organizations, that's not gonna help you. This, you have more than 250,000. What good is that? Everybody holds a hat on that FDIC. I don't know why I just got into this. I guess we're
But
saying,
nobody knows that it's 100,000 cap, so.
yeah, it bumped up a little bit, 250 now, so.
Yeah.
It's been 100 forever, right? I was been in banking for 20 something years since I was out of college, but switched over 7 years ago. But the thing is, the treasuries, the FDIC covers that first 250, and the federal government really can't go in and say, hey, we're gonna take care of all your deposits 100%. But the United States treasuries, they're backed by they're collateralized by the United States Treasury. Government covers that, still savings investment vehicle out there. They're actually paying really well, a 3-6 month, close to 5%. Now, as Kathleen mentioned, the yield curve is dipping after you go over 12 months in those, because most likely the market is dictating the fact that the rates are going to lower by that, or steady out at least. So we are covering that CD, if you will, the bank CD to its treasury, just a different investment.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
does that help? I know this is, you're looking at, go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, if I may, I appreciate what you're saying. It's actually very helpful to have the conversation. From my perspective, we hire Bartholomew to do this for us, so I don't want to micromanage.
No, I don't.
And I don't think you do either. I guess the philosophical question I'm asking is, we're at 30/70 right now. Do we want to shift that some? And is it beneficial? Obviously, we've heard there's a pretty wide gap from other municipalities. They actually can flip that number. I'm not comfortable doing that. Yeah, because we have a different, right.
There are.
But are we willing to make a 10% shift to a 40/60? I mean, that's not an incredible shift, but it will benefit us in the long run, according to, or you feel it will benefit us by doing something like that. That's sort of the philosophical question I have. You know, can we give them, are we willing, do we have an interest in giving them the power to help us make more money? That's what we're asking.
I would say yes, but I guess I'm a more risk taker, but it's not my money, but I think the market is so down right now, you gotta do it, now's the time to do it.
Yeah, I
And you
mean,
can
it's
always-
so
And you
conservative.
can always
that-
switch back.
Right,
It's not like
absolutely.
you're stuck with it.
Yep.
You know, and
We're
everyone in the
not
town can
married
hate
to it.
us, whatever, but the market is.
Don't say that.
Well, if you all, they lost all the money, but because it's really not our money, it's not our money, it's the redevelopment money,
Which is why
we're
we're,
overseeing it.
right,
And
that's
why we're
why,
being conservative, but
correct.
if the market was way on the uptick, I would say no, but I think if we're going to do it, to shift to 10, I think now would be the time to do it, that's my opinion.
Is 10 enough from your opinion?
Plenty of it.
So that's a big.
It is a big swing, right.
And secondarily, I don't know what the liquidity. I have no clue.
Right.
So I'm okay with a 10% adjustment, but I don't know what the liquidity is.
Yeah, that would be important, you know, like when is your liquidity? It's, that is key. So,
We've worked very hard to play within our means up to this point. We do get income. It's modest income, but we do get income on a monthly basis.
These are Reggie's projections, we're talking 3 years out.
We are talking 3 years out, yeah.
But I don't, again, I don't know what can happen.
Well, I mean, if we look to purchase properties, we're going to be looking to leverage our realty, not remove from this fund. My gut says that we're probably okay leaving this money alone for 3 years, but that's my gut, and I can't, COVID happened and all bets were off that year. Now, we managed, we didn't have to dip into that, but I mean, CPC punched in $750,000 just to keep people in their homes. It's volatile, but are we gonna have another pandemic? Probably not in the next 3 years, I hope. And I don't see that we would have a need to. And Reg, you're the treasurer, so I want your opinion on this, but I think we're probably safe for 3.
I'm probably the most conservative here, and from my perspective, I like the opportunity to study it a little bit more. I like the fact that we're making a little bit of money. I keep the eye on the losses, but then right after you see the losses, you must take a slight uptick, and so for the time being, from my perspective, I'd like to stay conservative, and take a look this and see, maybe we should go to an extra 10%. Now I am treasurer, I'm not the expert on that, so I am, I'm looking at it as if it is, as it is my money. And, I do the same thing with my own bank account. I take a look and I see, okay, if I'm getting hit on fees, I'm going back to the bank and I want to know, why am I getting hit on fees when I initially signed up and there was no fees? And they make the adjustments. But from my perspective, I'd like to stay.
You want to sit tight.
I want to sit tight.
Well, I mean, I think we didn't come to make that decision. Yeah.
We don't have to, no.
The second thing is to, Reggie, you gotta be aware of opportunity, right? So opportunity cost is we wait a couple months, and I don't have a crystal ball.
Nobody here does.
So, we don't know where the market is heading direction. We're waiting and possible as well. So we just have to.
I would also just say, just to reiterate that, you on the equity side, really the market side, you just own dividend paying stocks.
Right.
So the other way you can add risk, as bad as that sounds, tends to be the part of the market that reacts more positively and more negatively are those growth companies. I mean, you're heavy in financials, devoid of technology. So, heavy banks, heavy utilities, you don't have so much healthcare, kind of
Growth,
innovative
yeah.
growth tech. So maybe if you don't go from, if you don't move from 30, maybe you diversify, at least diversify the 30 a little bit more. It's just something to consider. We don't need a decision, and then because whatever you decide, we can make that change that day that you tell us. So
Yeah,
there's no
we're
rush.
thinking, I think the authority would be ready to make a decision on this at our May meeting.
Okay.
So within a month's time.
Yeah.
We would be able to give you, Bobby, I know this is sort of brand new, but did you have any thoughts initially, or do you want to pass judgment for the moment?
Yeah, it would take a little time to take this all in as far as that's concerned. I do like the conservative approach, that's for sure. And just as far as the rate of return is concerned, if you do, you made $15,000 during the course of the year, or 3/4 of the year, is it worth, going up 10%, and what would be the gain as far as that's concerned? So I always tend to be on the safe side, but yeah, I'd like to kind of go through this and kind of come up with the conclusion as far as that's concerned. So I love the report, and I love the information with it as well, so appreciate that.
Just a random question. What is your guys' standard kind of rebalance quarterly, or is it?
Annually.
At least annually. Yeah, but we're always in there, like I said, doing other trades, but as far as getting you back to your targets, annually.
And last year, with a recession coming in, although not with this necessarily with this portfolio, with dividend paying, or correct me if I'm wrong. But last year, knowing we're coming into a recession at some point, we strengthened up the credit on the portfolio. We did that as well, right? Yeah. So in this portfolio, what we did was, or Kathleen did it. I don't do much, I talk. So what they did behind the scenes is they strengthened up the credit in the portfolio, knowing there's a recession coming. So we got rid of some of the less desirable credit in the portfolio and strengthened it. So if we do go into if we go into a recession that will impact the credit of companies, we want to make sure your portfolio is secure in that regard, or tighter. Does that make sense? And it depends on all the markets, like 1920, we had a strong market, so we balanced a couple times that market for the 30, 70.
Well, I must say, first of all, thank you for explaining this stuff. It's not easy stuff to understand, but over 7 years now, it's 4 years.
Who's counting?
Within the last 3 years.
The good job. Check it out on this. One of the things was really good, close to or in excess of $700,000. And that to our.
And we were there for a long
We were
time.
there for a while.
Yeah.
And then we do understand. Crash, back up. You know.
Thank you. Just know we work for you guys. We're independent, so what you need us as a resource, more of a resource than once every 6 months.
Yeah.
Come back.
I mean, I think we collectively should discuss this a little bit.
Yeah.
But as I say, we'll meet again in May, and when we do, I anticipate the group is collectively making a decision. Roberta and I are sort of in the same boat. I tend to take a little bit more of a risk, which might not be good. But, I think Reggie's very conservative, Bob's very conservative, I knew because he's from finance. So Andrew's sort of a head appointment. Let us have an opportunity to speak about it, and then we'll contact you through Reggie, or whoever's the chair at that time, because we'll be reorganizing, and we'll get any decisions right to you.
Thank you. We have plenty of sample, working with many municipalities and organizations, municipal organizations. We have sample investment policy samples, so don't feel you have to go read that. You don't have to go rewrite yours. So if you give us the kind of
Oh, I won't.
Where you going?
I was just gonna say,
Yeah.
shift to 10 points and you're okay.
If you want to go from dividend paying stocks to whatever.
Yeah, give us that.
Yeah, give us that part. That's right.
We don't want you to rewrite it, okay? I mean, you
No, I
got
won't.
Not as a non-paying board, we do not do that.
I won't. Maybe somebody else here will, but it won't be
Some
me.
communities do. I'm not saying. I'm on my volunteer board too, so I'm like, I got stuck with writing the minutes.
We gotta know.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're fortunate to pay somebody.
Oh, okay, come on.
Thank you. Any other questions or concerns? Please let us know.
Yeah.
Any other further questions?
No, thank you.
All very much.
Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Sorry.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you want, just leave one or,
Give me one for Reg.
yeah, I don't know if you want it. Nobody did, does anybody do cards anymore?
Yeah, they still carry them. Thank
Carry
you.
cards? I could tell. You didn't want it, so.
These guys got it.
Yeah, he'll call me. Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. You as well. All right, moving on to item number 3, hybrid meetings. So this was on because at the time of putting this together, it appeared that the House of Representatives and State Senate had agreed on a bill that they presented to Governor Healy regarding some changes to the hybrid system. However, ultimately, Governor Healy chose to do nothing but extend the in-place provisions from Governor Baker at the time. So all she really did was extend things from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. We're all here in this room. This is a lot easier. I don't really see the need to make any policy to this, and members are allowed, under the statute at least, under the law, to continue to meet in a hybrid fashion if they want. We are continuing to offer the public hybrid options. We're looking to open up that door. I know people with any sort of disability that would make it difficult to get in and out of this office. This alleviates any problems they might have. So the hybrid with the public will stay. As members, you're allowed to sign in virtually. So it's my responsibility to let you all know that. I was looking to create a policy at one point, but with Governor Healy's suggestion is really, I can't do anything. So here we are. Just wanted everybody to know that. So that's an easy piece. Item number, unless anybody had any questions.
I think it's a great idea, you know, in terms of, meeting in person 5 years ago was, you know, we didn't have all this type of technology, you know, available to us, particularly for the public. You know, we're in a small office and really got something important to get out to the public. The public can, you know, either click on and see us and, you know, as we're live, or we do record it and put it on our website, and they can go back and take a look at that. I think it's great documentation, and it's the way of the future. I would suspect in 2025, the governor will probably come up with something that extends it further.
It was too bad that the bill that the House passed wasn't acted upon, because it was pretty reasonable for a committee or a board. It only required that 1/3 of the members be in person as a minimum requirement. The Senate actually, I believe, had a quorum present, but the House backed down from that and made it 1/3 of the committee. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It's, you know, this law has been extended to 2025, March 31st. And I think on some of our bigger projects where maybe there might be a time conflict or something, but this definitely adds another layer of transparency for the public. So if we're all here, wonderful. I know we all have lives, and if it's necessary for one of us not to be here and to sign on, so be it. That is certainly allowable. I just wanted everybody to know that. Item 4, routine matters. What do we got? We got minutes from. What was the date on? Do you have your packet?
It's, February 8th.
February 8th?
Yes.
So do I have a motion to accept the minutes from February 8th?
Solid.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Payment of.
Abstain.
You're abstaining, of course. Yeah, I apologize. I didn't say abstain. We have payment of bills. The list of the credit card purchases or debit card purchases are in here. Was there any question on any of that?
Yeah, I was wondering why we had the office claim when we didn't have a meeting.
What was it?
We have an agreement with the cleaning company to come once a month. That's part of the agreement we signed, and it was what we agreed upon when we hired someone.
So who signed this agreement?
We agreed to have the office cleaned.
Right.
So he sent us I don't think, did you sign a contract with him?
I mean, I guess, it's just, I just never saw it. I never knew who we hired.
So we had a discussion about this
We said we were gonna have the office.
once a month.
Right. Never,
Yes.
never who it was, never picked up shows, never.
Oh,
knew the amount.
no, I think we set a dollar value to it, did we not? Yeah. Yeah. So that's how that was decided, and we did discuss it and voted.
You know, the other thing is that, and I know this is happening more and more each month, is that although we may not have a need
Yeah.
of the SRA, we have had subcommittees here with members from here as well as members from the select. We had meetings with the developers, things of that nature. And they use that, get various pizzas, things of that nature. One of the things I'm really cognizant of, trying to make sure we don't have any unpaid guest, one or two here in the evening. I mean, roads.
Yep.
You know, so
I figured
trying
that's
to
where
try
it's
to keep
going.
this place, because I know one time, I think it was after the open house. And I knew it wasn't scheduled to be cleaned, you know, I made a point of staying late and vacuuming the floor and taking the trash, and just taking it to my house. Right? I'm very, a little bit germophobic, so, you know, if I leave and I see something on the floor, I'm gonna pick it up. And I always check when I come in here, because they leave something that lets you know that they've been here. They tie up the paper towel.
Yeah.
Oh, I
That's
thought
what
you meant the rodents.
No, but like, yeah, they leave something behind. It's not pretty.
Okay, I know they were here because the paper towel, you know, was all tied up into a nice neat bow. So I incorporated that on a monthly basis into our budget. You know, separated out, so it's $600 for the rent that we pay, and then $100 we use that. I know that they wanted to have a key, I think it was.
That's
Yeah,
So that
we
they
did
can
not.
access things. And I was really opposed to giving anybody a key other than the members here, key, because we do have confidential information. Didn't want anybody, you know, just peeking in our file system, you know, taking a look at it, or checking accounts, things of that nature. So we mandate that anytime that be here, that somebody is here to usually just don't.
So my question is, not to be rude, but then I don't understand why we have to have that bonded if somebody is killed. I'm confused.
Well, the bonding is an insurance situation.
Insurance on what?
Well, it's to say she's not in cleaning the toilet and she doesn't grab the checkbook. How would anybody in this office know that, even if Donna was sitting right there? How would she know?
Well, I'm just saying, Reggie just said we want to.
When
be
you have
here.
clean, we have to be here because we don't give them the key. But that doesn't change the fact that their employees need to be bonded. So if anything goes missing, if anything breaks, a woman's vacuuming, she smashes that TV, that's what insurance and bonding is for. She's covered and the company is covered.
And they pay.
They pay for that, yeah. We don't pay for the bond.
No, I understand that, but it's kind of, you're bonded, but yet we still have, that's what I'm trying to say. We're bonded, but yet we still have to be.
Well, we're choosing to be here by not.
Correct. That is correct. We're choosing to be here. Could we give them a key? Yeah. I had brought that up and didn't get Reggie said, no, I got keys floating around. And I understand that. And, and it is what it is.
I have problems with this lock myself. There's been a couple times where I thought the door was locked and then I pull it and it opens. So.
I don't mean to laugh, but you made me go through the exercise of opening the
She
door.
did, didn't she?
Yeah, she did. You're not leaving until you open the door and close it.
No.
I have never opened and closed the
Oh,
store.
you never have? Oh, yeah.
You gave your keys back, yeah.
No, I have a key.
Oh, you do have a key.
I have a
That's true.
key.
I thought you gave your
That's
keys.
my computer.
I know that. Yes, it
I
is.
gave the key to the other place. Which I knew I never-
That's what it was. I knew you gave a key back.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember the fact I need to give my keys back.
Really?
Well, I held on to it, primarily because we did have some responsibility
You know
for
what?
it up until
Yeah.
April.
Give Donna your key because I also
felt that I
have keys
needed
for that
to keep the
office.
key, in the event something happened. And
Yeah.
the landlord said, hey, look, we really rented it to you. You subletted it to these people. We need to get in.
Well, yeah, and absolutely.
So, but I do have the keys and I'll give it to you.
Any further questions on this?
I'm good.
So credits, we had 2 credits, Donna, am I correct? One for 305 and one for 89.
Yeah, the 89 is the insurance credit because when we changed to a smaller location, they gave us a rebate.
Okay.
And then
The 305 was for a camera. We've had a little bit of an issue getting the right camera for this office, and I don't think we're done yet. The one that we ordered was supposed to zoom and it doesn't. So long story short, there'll be another one next month.
it's essentially the same camera.
It is, but they do different things. Okay, unpaid bills.
That's an updated invoice.
So I have an updated invoice from Donna Marie Jutras. Invoice 63, so I was looking for that. The amount of $231.75.
Make a motion to fix.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask. Do I have a second on the motion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay, here's. And the National Grid bills are just bills we normally have come in, so unless somebody has a question, I'm not going to go over regular paid bills. Next item is item C, finance review. Reggie? You want it?
No, I got it. So for the end of March, financial report is that we have in our checking account $59,491.34. I need to preface that is that before the end of March, we actually received 2 rent payments from our tenants. So they made one in the beginning of the month And then before the end of the month was over, they paid in advance. So I think it came in like March 29th or something like that, you know? So
Our lease ended at 7/25 on April 1st, though.
And then
No,
we
I'm
move
sorry.
in, so,
the landfill,
Oh, I apologize.
yeah, no,
Gotcha.
the
Go
landfill.
ahead.
You know, so that's why it's at 59,000. It probably would be more like 56,000. But you will see in next month that it will look like the landfill people didn't pay rent for April, but they actually paid their rent in March on
I
time.
know. they did.
Yeah, they paid on time.
You know,
I don't know.
now,
Is that, I'm sorry, is that a fixed dollar amount?
yes,
Okay, thank you.
It's marked, it isn't fixed, it's fixed monthly, but it adjusts with the consumer price index, CPI.
on an annual basis, that takes place in November.
No, the CPI shifts every month.
So the rent shifts did.
It can,
I think we're
if
gonna
you,
wait for executive session, Mark.
yeah, no, well, no, that's public knowledge.
Okay.
The check can shift from month to month. They monitor the CPI, we do not, although I have.
I need to, you know, that wasn't my interpretation.
It's small, it's 34 cents, $1.05, you know, sometimes they do it once a quarter. It's not monitored heavily, I'll be honest with you.
I had a different number for a portfolio. You know, so what I did was I checked, and what I did was I missed one day of.
That'll do
Yeah,
it.
this was up to date.
Right. This was right to the
Yeah.
end of
Yes,
the
it was.
month. When I did it, it was.
You're forgiven.
Yeah, don't worry.
So I had 641,000 instead of 642,000. And then the real estate remained the same again, 4,458,000.
Can I ask you a question on that, Reggie? Where do you get that real estate number from? Is it an appraised number? Is it on Zillow? Is it a realtor.com? I just always wonder where you got that figure
You
from.
know, I actually got the number from previous reports, you know, going back some time,
Okay.
with the full knowledge that it's probably not the full value. So my
So
estimate,
whose reports were they? Was, when you
a
said
previous,
board? Like a board from here?
who's Forrest,
Okay, all right.
you know, so I just picked that up. I didn't
Okay,
come
so
up
we
with
really
anything.
don't know how accurate that is.
So, no,
Okay,
I would suspect that it is inaccurate and that it is slightly higher.
That is something we may be able to address before our next meeting, Roberta.
no, I'm just curious. 'cause
And no, I am
every
too.
year and
It's a
I'm like,
mystery number. This
Yeah.
is sort of gets thrown at us.
What number page is that?
What?
What number
So,
page
yeah,
is
100.
100. Can you give the figure again, 4,458?
And
300,000.
Thank you.
for total assets of $5,159,054.40. We had a net gain in our portfolio of $1,042. That compared to the February portfolio, we lost $16,447. So the market went up, but we gained approximately $1,000. Now, what I also did, if I didn't send it out, because sometimes I have this senior moment, but what I did was I took all of our expenses from January of 2022 through December 31st, 2022, so that the board could actually see how much money we brought in, what we spent our monies on, if in fact we were on budget, under budget, or over budget in various categories. If I did not send that to you, it is complete. And
I believe you did send it to us a
Okay.
few months back.
A few months back,
Yeah.
exactly. Because I wanted to make sure that we had that for any new people that we came onto the board so that they could get an understanding that, you know, we're being fully transparent and very responsible as it relates to the budget. Now, next month, what's going to also happen is I'm gonna bring that up on a quarterly basis so that we'll be able to see, are we on target? Are we over budget? Or are we under budget? Reason being is that in December, when we approved the overall budget, we basically said that as long as we're on budget, we don't really need to come back. We need to report what we spent. But we don't need to come in and try to approve everything.
Right.
And that was for the utilities and things of that nature.
We approve budgets for all of our categories, so
But once,
taking a look at it after the first quarter
right,
shows us,
once
hey,
we go, if it looks like we're going over budget, then it has to come back to the board. So that the board says, hey, look, we're buying too much pastries,
Well,
something like
and,
that.
and bingo, that's a great point. I mean, I brought it up before. I think we should be very prudent and fiscally prudent. We're trying to, this committee is trying to sell themselves to be responsible to do things with other town properties. And I think that we should be fiscally prudent when it comes to what we're doing, what we're spending our money on here. It's really not, it's not our money. I mean, I think that I'm glad that we do it, and I do think that we should be more fiscally prudent of incidental office incidentals and how we're spending our money.
I think we're pretty good on that. Given our budget, $240 isn't gonna break it for the year, but that's my opinion. And I think it's an awful nice thing for people, hospitality wise.
Yeah,
And you could look at it as each of these members here in this room collect $40 per meeting, chair can collect 50. So, but we don't do that. So I think it's a small trade-off. That's my opinion. I do think, more was purchased tonight, given Bartholomew was coming in. I think they can be cut back.
Yeah.
Don't have an issue with that.
but when you see it, you'll be able to see, for example, I've got the annual budget. And then I broke it out, what it should be on average for monthly. And then what the actual expense for January, February, and March will actually be. And then you'll be able to see, okay, wow, we're doing really good here. And I'll use your thing in terms of the incidental. Wow, gee, we budgeted X for incidentals. And we're now at that right now in the first quarter, And so what are we gonna do for the next 3 quarters? We've got to make that's a board decision. We can't continue to go down the road spending and then all of a sudden we come back and say, gee, we budgeted for 200, but we spent 1,000.
That doesn't
How
work.
come we didn't know about it?
That's why we have caps on the budget.
Right.
So if we're concerned and we get close to that cap, I agree, we absolutely have to come back here and have a discussion about it. As far as cost cutting measures, anything we can do to cut costs, I'm okay with it. I know you put dollars out of your pocket to purchase food for guests.
Yeah, I didn't want to. It's too
I
much to figure out how to get
right.
reimbursed.
Well, no, I mean, that's, that is a factor. So there's a great deal done here that isn't. Yeah.
So that's my report.
Thank you, Deb.
Like a quarterly report, I hope you have a ready on the next meeting.
If you have it by day, that gives us a sincere shot.
Yeah, because this is, no,
Yeah.
I'll have it.
Any other comments from members about the financial review? Nope. I missed 2 items in the unpaid bills that are not normally there. These were 2 invoices from BSC Group. Reggie, I know we're very close on what we owe them. I think we're around 95%. So
95%.
do you have any information on these 2 invoices? Why would we-
I just got the invoices. My recommendation, right, for tonight is that we not pay them.
Well, it's not the first time.
I know that. It's the way he says, I'm not gonna
Yeah, well, with the caveat is that,
We have to pay.
we have to pay. But what I, there were two things that I wanted to take a look at. One I've already taken a look at. I thought we had paid them some of the money for the environmental. But when I did the research last year, I found out that we did not pay them for any of that. The second thing that I wanted to really be able to attain was, okay, I see the invoices, but give me the product. So I'd like to have my hands on the product that basically says, this is what we're paying you for, as opposed to giving them the money and, we don't know what kind of happen.
Right.
So I believe them, but again,
Yeah, but one of those invoices looked like an older invoice.
it was December.
Okay.
It was in
And
December.
then a new one.
And we got a new one.
Yeah.
Now, they said they sent it to me, and, it's quite possible, but I don't recall getting it because I would put it on January.
Do you think the December invoice is something we should pay?
Well, man,
Actually, I don't have a document
Okay,
because this is what they did
okay.
for December or whatever they
Yeah,
did it in the
just
bills.
those work and amount.
It's just working them out,
So I make a suggestion, I just briefly skimmed these. The additional tasks aspect of this, the additional SRA meetings, CAG, public engagement strategies, and NEPA payment. I'm okay paying that aspect of it. It's the top piece that I'm not sure is
Right.
accurate. So
That all came in under one.
it did,
All
but
money.
what I'm suggesting, if it is the will of the authority, is that you take those last 5 things that I just listed, the SRA meetings, CAG, public engagement, NEPA, and 3D graphics, that equals 11,600. And that's from both of these invoices. And if you cross-reference them, he has it charged out on one for the top 2, but not on the $0 for public engagement. But he has the MEPA in there in the 3D graphics. They did do the 3D graphics and they did it in a timely fashion.
So where are these?
So I don't have an issue paying that. They're here in the office. We also got them in an email.
Okay,
So
Well, I
all
saw-
that packet of stuff that was
okay.
tough to
I
open.
never saw a 3D. I saw things in the packet from a few months ago, whatever. I have no idea where.
Well, I wouldn't,
Where-
yeah, that's a
where
good
we
point. They
were.
weren't 3D graphics, but they were mock-ups.
But
In
there are
a
buildings.
flat
and there's-
2D
There's
surface.
trees and streets, and I had no idea where these places were.
Lyman Street, it was exactly what we talked about at a meeting that we
Okay,
wanted.
but
We wanted
no,
the
they
Lyman
weren't
Street
labeled. They would just
No.
say 5 pitches. So I'm
because they're
trying to,
brand new buildings. They're not there.
I mean, everything's gone. And the
Well, no.
sidewalk was wider
It-
and, it's just.
Everything's not gone. The focal point on some of them was the train station. We all know where that is and that stays. And then that whole block was redone.
Okay, I
The
didn't
parking
even
area
pick up
was
the train.
redone.
I guess for me.
The
they were
Randolph
options
Savings
cheaper
Bank was
rather-
also a piece that was done.
it was
So they
done.
were clear, and the landmark there was the church right next to them.
Okay, I don't have that in my pictures then that I got.
Okay, we got 18 or so.
Okay, I think I got
renderings.
5 pictures and it just shows, let's just say this room here, and there's a building and a building and I
There's a
had.
total of 18 in the
All right.
Mimecast file, and there are physical copies here. if you'd like to-
I would like to see
Yeah.
them.
So my suggestion, Reggie, if you're comfortable with this, I have no issue with a motion to pay the 11,600. I don't want to pay the top half because I don't know what it is, and it's.
I'd like to hear from the board members. I'm just very, my younger days, I was a little more to get it done, and forget. So it's just like, when I said in earlier, I thought I had paid them for some of the environmental stuff. And when I
But you said you did not.
But when I did the research, I did not see that, And, and so from that point of view, I was saying, well, not to make more work on anybody, I wanted to be able to say, okay, we received X, Y, and Z, and A, B, and C. Let's pay the whole thing. I don't have a problem with, because we did receive some of the things, we just need to be able to document.
Yeah, my concern is that if we don't pay them at bare minimum for the MIPA and the graphics, that the renderings that they did, is that gonna slow things down for us?
So, I don't think so.
No.
Can I ask another question? So when the subcommittee around with the selectmen, and they wanted these graphics done.
Yep.
And I remember you guys saying about 3D graphics. But you're telling me that they're really not 3D.
Well, the
Are they
flat
just-
sheet of paper that is made to look like a 3D render.
It's not an actual 3D.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
Wow.
I thought it was going to
they
be.
weren't giving us models. No.
Okay,
That would.
so did you share, did you share with the select board?
Yes,
And what was the conclusion? Did you
we
share
were
that
put on
with us?
we were put on their schedule. However, an older version of the priorities list was sent to the board of selectmen.
No, I understand that it was
So it was
canceled,
tabled.
but did you meet with the two selectmen
Oh, yeah.
and show these?
The subcommittee met here, Reggie provided pizza, and they all agreed on those priorities that we have out now.
Okay,
And it didn't get updated.
no, I understand the
No, she got that,
I
yeah.
got that part, but I just never knew that you had another meeting with them. And I kept on thinking I'm going to see 3D renderings
Yeah.
in here,
Yeah.
and every time I
When was the
come
meeting
in,
anyways? I'm sorry.
that's fine, I'm done.
When was the meeting anyways? Just to.
We've had a series of meetings between Vice Chair Cavey and Scott Carrera. Those were the two members from the select board that were chosen to participate in a subcommittee with us to work out the
That's
details.
what I got, 1, 2, 3,
Yeah, you actually received about 18.
6, that's what I got.
Well, you should check your emails
I
because
do.
everybody got the same package of approximately 18 renderings.
Forward 3D concept
They're-
review
they're
on 11,
in.
21, 22.
They're in a program called Mindcast because they're so large, it was difficult to open the other one.
Okay, well then maybe I did not,
So
that's maybe why I need to get that computer back.
they're not in PDFs, they're in a program called Mindcast.
One thing that I said, because I think it really.
So we've met several times.
Right, what was the latest? I'm sorry, as far as
The latest was approximately,
So this is a hot topic.
It's a hot topic.
Okay, that's okay.
oh yeah, no, this
So,
is live.
curious, would you have sent these the same time as you sent the other one?
I did not send them, Heather Gould sent them. And I don't want crosstalk, so let's be
Okay.
careful with that.
Okay.
please. I would welcome you to ask any questions you want, but let's not crosstalk.
All right,
The
well,
one
I
thing,
didn't get them.
the one thing that I want to say about the subcommittee, was actually was a really good idea, is to do the work outside of the various boards. So that people had an opportunity to really match out and negotiate and say what they thought, what, all those things happened, and we were able to come to some consensus. The thing that was really unfortunate was that when the subcommittee was created, there was the opportunity for the planning board and the town to select members to be part of the sub. The town, at the time, I forget the interim.
Yeah.
Had indicated that, they were really short-staffed and they couldn't assign anybody to that. And I thought it was, this exercise was really important enough to really, put somebody on there, and the planning board decided one way or another that, they didn't participate. Because I really do believe that once you get into the minutia, as opposed to trying to do a presentation, that's, 45 minutes or so, and you're really trying to present a 92-page document of which that half the people probably did not read it. But, if you have confidence in your board members to say, we've assigned you to come back and give us the okey-doke or the real deal, and this is your recommendation, and that's what I think is really important about these subcommittees, is because that's where all the work really gets it's done. And then those people that are part of that board go back and give people the reassurances that, you know, they're not trying to pull anything over us. This seems like a good thing. We had some issues with this that we rectified, A, B, C, D. You know, so, and I like that's the way, you know, the whole town really should operate like that. Unfortunately, we're not at that point yet.
Well, the most successful, this was a very successful subcommittee because all members had the opportunity to speak freely. We weren't on camera, so they could spit out whatever they wanted, and it could be wild, conjecture, but it didn't matter because it was within that group. Right. Ultimately, that allowed us to come up with a comprehensive plan that both sets of parties believed they were board/authorities.
And not everybody was in agreement.
No,
We had
not
a
initially,
couple of spirited conversations that we had to take a break and get some pizza. But, you know, at the end of the day, we came up with consensus that we could report out. Unfortunately, it didn't get updated in time to be sent to the board.
well, it did, but the wrong copy got sent. It is what it is.
So,
Well, any further
No,
thoughts on
I
that?
appreciate the information, you know.
Roberta, did you have any further comments on that? I wanted to give you an opportunity. Donna, will you please make sure that all 5 members receive the original package that Heather put together of the 18 images that we put together, that BSC put together? Make sure that she has it early in her folder again. Thank you.
you know, the only other thing I would say on the unpaid bills, because we're still on that, right?
We are, yeah. So we're not doing anything with BSC, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Needed to visit it one way or the
I'm
other.
meeting with Jeff tomorrow night.
Yeah.
So I will.
Can I mention something about, I've been on for sitting here for a year, and there's been this talk about, I'm gonna use the word distressed properties, that you have been waiting for this company before I even got on the board.
We have the list of distressed in the urban renewal plan now.
Okay, so he did that upon this appointment.
He did, so I wonder what, so I want to give you a little bit of history, Roberta, so you understand it fully. Back when they approached us in 2016, Pam McCarthy put together a blighted
We
report.
talked about this, yeah.
This came to us and I said, this is garbage.
Right.
I'm not doing this to good people who
Right.
maintain their homes
Right.
just because the bill post 1970,
Yeah, right.
or pre-1979. So we instructed Jeff and Heather, BSC, to focus on properties that were actually blighted. Things that were in that original report that, you know, were still in the same condition, but I needed to make sure it couldn't just be a technicality. And that's what I hated about the blighted report. Don't bring me a technicality, bring me real data. We have plenty of buildings here, even with the work that's been done, that are considered blighted.
Right.
We don't need to create anything for that. And further, the state will accept what we put together. So I really wanted them to focus specifics, and not sort of a broad brush like was done before. That information has been incorporated into the latest draft of the urban renewal that we have. But I wanted to clarify that for you because I know you're looking for something this thick that doesn't exist
Okay.
anymore. I thought that was just wrong on a lot of levels. If I owned one of these houses, I'd have been up there asking for a rebate, you know, on my taxes. Yeah, well, you blight my property, you're gonna give me a rebate, you know? But that's neither here nor there.
But getting back, you know, because there is one thing on here, under unpaid bills, and it says reimbursement to Reggie for frames. I've already been reimbursed for that. So that is not something that I'm looking for today.
No, that's, yeah. That's
And, you know, so if it was a check written out for that, for today to be signed, it should be void.
It was.
Because I was already.
Yeah.
Those frames were for
The
for the
citations.
citations that were on the back wall.
All right, anything?
And there was just a reimbursement from me for $9.60 for mailing the financial package out because the debit card.
Yeah, that was, so Abington Bank gave us new debit cards, and when that happened, Donna had some trouble using it initially, so she ended up spending her own money. It's not a habit we like to see, and she is aware of that, but I think she felt that it was more important to get the items that we needed at the time. So you've been reimbursed for
No,
that?
I'm not. It's only $10, but
You know, I think
Well,
that was
yeah,
the
but it's gonna be a mistake. I'm not seeing why is that again? It wasn't in the package, Donna?
it was, yeah.
So we need a motion to approve how much money, Donna?
$9.60.
So maybe.
There it is.
There it is.
Second.
Any discussion? Well, this was a financial package. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Thank you, Bob. Correspondence, there was no correspondence this month, is that correct? Action item list. Donna?
You have my packet,
Oh, sorry, yeah.
but it's the usual items that I have to do. Posting the video on the town website, posting the signed minutes after the meeting, typing the open session and executive session minutes, paying the utility bills, paying the rent, to the landlord, creating the action list and getting it out within, 10 days.
Did you
And
send the Excel spreadsheet to Reggie with a list of businesses? It says you did.
I did.
Okay, great. Thank you. And you sent out the price quotes from Wizards. That is a little bit further down in our packet.
Yeah, it's been a while to be honest, but yes, I emailed it out, yes.
Okay, thank you, Donna. Roberta, I think that one item on this section.
What the ones.
Coordinate the newsletter. The format is developed.
She was waiting for the format to be sent to her. She was
Who's
gonna,
doing the format?
you and Reggie had talked
Yeah.
about.
Great. I didn't do that.
Okay.
I'm looking at you like a deer in the headlights.
I know you are.
I know the
Reggie, you and I
license.
need to. re-up
Yeah,
our
it's
efforts
further on the
that.
list. Down below, it says Reggie and Mark.
Yeah.
agreed to create
Yep.
a newsletter.
No,
Yeah.
that was our fault. I will take that one on the chin. The synopsis was sent to the URP and the SRA. CPC had a generally quiet meeting. We had a presenter last night from SMAC who was interested in doing a film on the train depot. We also got through all of the standing committees, finance committee, and municipal ops, municipal regs, and intergovernmental. We had some changes this year. CDC budget went before intergovernmental, which was a first, and some muni ops things went, which were a first, but I don't have the physical numbers in front of me. Everything passed, all four standing committees, if you will. There were a couple of dissenting votes, one on the Hanson playground and one, I believe, on the Hudson Road purchase. And there was at least one dissenting vote at municipal ops. One of the projects, I think it might have been, it was Atkinson Ave extension where we put the parking lot. Other than that, those were all positive votes. We are not meeting in May, so I won't have an update in May. We won't meet again until after town meeting in June if it ends. At any rate, that's my update for the moment. Oh, and one other thing from the CPC, we approved grant agreements for applicants so that the money can be better followed, tracked, organized, and more T's crossed and I's dotted. Both the town, all applicants, whether you're a town employee or a private applicant will all be required to sign a grant agreement for the funds. It's actually very good. It helps the CPC be more transparent. It helps to ensure that the money is flowing in a timely fashion. Oh, and the other thing that was approved was, actually it was referred by the finance committee, was the payoff on the bond anticipation note. The CPC the town ran into an issue where they could not issue a bond on an article that we had passed a town meeting in 2015 because there was not a usage earmarked for the building. That triggered something called a bond anticipation note, bond anticipation note, which meant you have to start paying the principal, get it bonded. The CPC approached the select board and put an article on the warrant, and then Bill Rowe found a way to pay it through our budget. So we intend on dismissing the ban article, which is why it was referred, and that's it. Reg?
Yes, first thing on the list is if we contact Pam McCarthy regarding the bank consortium. What I actually did was I contacted and had a discussion with the new town manager, explaining what it is that I'm trying to do, and to solicit his assistance in getting in to help with it. He has agreed to do that. He's asked me to stop it his office. I hate just walking in on anybody. So I asked him to do that. And if he does it that way, I will do that. But he shortly went on vacation right after that. So I will drop in on him because I do think that it is important that we begin to have those types of discussions with the banks, if for no other reason to inform them of this redevelopment efforts down here. Two, request for Bartholomew to attend the April meetings through Donna that actually occurred and they showed up today. Contact isolated businesses in the downtown for the newsletter. I actually did that. And one of the things that they had requested was, could we provide, and I need to work with you, Mark, on this, is the core area, street names.
Okay.
Of those, because the list that we received from the Economic Development Department, they have all the information that we need, with the exception of emails. We've got to figure out a way, to get the email so that we can actually communicate, because that's how Constant Contact, sends out information. We purchased it for, what was the cost on that? It's less than $100. I think.
Yeah, it was around 80.
Yeah, we got a deal because we're a nonprofit organization, and then we got another discount because we paid for the entire year. So it came out to about $88.
And it was tax-free.
And it was tax-free. And we can send as many emails as we want on a monthly basis, as long as we don't go at any particular time over 500. And that's why, when I talked to them, they said, gee, we know Stoughton has more than 500 businesses. And I says, well, what if we just really concentrate on the downtown area? And they said, yeah, that would work. And they said that if we're able to get the emails, we would then be able to have them assist with actually putting all that information into a program for us. So we need to do that. Now, the problem is getting the emails. So I've been in contact with the Metropolitan Area Planning Council to determine whether or not they had sort of a pot of money that they could grant us to hire a young person that could actually help obtain emails to be put into the system. they're reviewing the situation, I know I probably asked for way too much money, because I always ask for $5,000. And, so I'm waiting to hear back whether or not they would grant us, those dollars. But that is sort of the consensus in terms of how we go forward with the banking consortium. There are 8 bank branches, that really is less than a mile on the strip out here. And each one of those banks have a responsibility for the Community Preservation Act. And my understanding, is that, they're willing to do
Community benefits.
they're willing to do community benefits, but it's through the community CPA.
Really? No.
CRA.
Yeah.
CRA.
Community
Reinvestment.
Okay, I was gonna say, geez, Mike would have said something
Yeah.
about that.
John Doretta.
Community Reinvestment Act. And they're all committed to doing that. But you gotta ask. I asked Eastern Bank so far and Abington Bank, and both banks said they have a program, and it's a rolling program where you can apply at any given time, and what we get, they want to know what we're going to get out of it, and of course they want to know what they're going to get out of it. I wanted to bring that back here because one of the things, and it's on the agenda here, is that sometimes you got to move fairly quickly. Not so much on the banks, but for example, on I think it was MAPC, they had a grant program where they could provide us with staff. But we didn't meet in March, and the proposal was due in March. We kind of missed out on that opportunity.
Oh, you're gonna find it on it?
No, that was, no.
Actually, I said,
I
go
was
ahead
the
and
one,
read
I
it
was the
out.
one, I was the one that canceled the meeting.
No, I know, I
Yeah.
don't understand what you mean.
Oh, no. What we were looking at was,
We need more staff.
we could get people to actually walk around and, actually physically walk around and, try to get, the, emails from the individual businesses. Because, other than that, we'd have to write letters, and we'd have to hopefully get information back.
So you're looking for an intern.
So we were looking for,
Like,
Now,
now,
try and go online, they're not gonna walk around, I'm sure most businesses.
well, if they do that, that would be fine too, but I was really thinking in terms of a young person.
Walking around.
No,
They
they
could
go on
walk
Google.
faster than me. They could walk faster.
You feel like 100 years ago when I was a teenager.
100 years ago when you were a
I
teenager.
guess I'm trying to grasp all this. Okay, so now you have their email addresses, whatever way, via foot or via online.
That's when you use
When you send it, what do you want their email address for?
We're going to insert that into what is the constant contact.
So you can start
So
to
that
send
we
them
can
regular
start sending
correspondence
the-
on what's
so-
going on.
The newsletter that would go out, and I will, let me compare it to the town crier.
Mhm.
Am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Whereby we don't give them the full story, but we give them a part of the story. And we send it out to these businesses. And then we say, if you need more information, go to our website. As opposed to them thinking about, I need something, where do I go? So it's really forward facing.
It also gives businesses an opportunity to know who's, a new business opens up, a change in what that business is doing. It's not really a chamber of commerce, but it is a general, this is what's going on in our square.
Because there are, and there will be opportunities, coming down the pipe.
Well, I think there's gonna be more and more of that
Oh,
as
absolutely.
this starts to either happen through us or.
And I can give you an example. Unfortunately, the town of Stoughton missed out on it. But there was $3 billion in earmarks that went out to cities and towns in Massachusetts. And Stoughton was one of, I think, a dozen that received more money. And the lowest earmark was,
$100,000.
was $100,000.
What were these earmarks for?
They were for economic development. I shouldn't say that. Most of them were for economic development initiatives. But they were for, folks that wanted to do community centers. The highest one was $25 million. Of course, those went to the largest cities. But it was, sort of ARPA money, excess budget money that was in the state. And it totaled up to $3 billion. And it was really unfortunate that, the town of Stoughton wasn't able to receive any of those dollars. I know because I had been hired by a group in Boston to put together a program. And they received the earmark for $250,000. One of the things that I did was the way I wrote the proposal that got approved was that it wasn't just for Boston. I was able to include in a funny way Stoughton, Randolph, Revere, another community, so that it didn't look like, and I thought that would be advantageous to anybody at the legislature that's looking at it that would say, gee, we're getting so many requests from Boston. What about some of these other towns? So the program basically is around technical assistance. And what I mean by technical assistance is if in fact a business in Stoughton, and it'll be limited because it's not a whole lot of money, it's a lot of things. But if there was a business that needed to access capital, I'm using that as an example, but you can't access capital if you don't do your taxes. That part of technical assistance money could be granted to that business, but it wouldn't go to the business. It would go to the individual or company that would do the taxes.
All right.
That way, it was a pay to play.
Yeah.
We're not going to give you the money, and then all of a sudden, your taxes are not done. And, what are we going to do?
Right. You already gave them up.
So it accepted that.
Yeah.
And it's got to go through a number of phases. The good news is that the money is available. It does not have to be extended until June 30th of 2026. And it's only, like I said, it's only $250,000. Most of it will go to the Boston area, but Revere, Randolph, and Stoughton.
Does our economic development know about this?
Well, it hasn't always been that she will know about
Yeah.
it at some point. The money is going to Guild, and it's an organization in Boston. And then the money is going to be passed through the Guild to this other organization that's not a 501c3.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So it's a little complicated.
Yeah.
And the Senate president's community is in there. The House of Representative leader, his community is in there. And I wanted to make sure that Stoughton was in there, but to have Stoughton in there, I needed to be able to put Randolph in there. And it's really a small pot of money. We might be able to get 5 or 6 grants to some very needy businesses in this area. But if it works,
Right.
hey, then we should be able to go for our own pot of money, So I lost track, but I think that's what I was trying to do.
So that's the point, and Reggie and I will work on that.
Yeah,
for our
is there
next
anything else
meeting.
on there?
From you, no, you did the bank statement.
I did
Just
send
went
you
over the
the
community benefits.
invitations that I did. Now, there may have been other invitations that other people sent out, but that I did not know.
Right, I know.
The update on the BSC, actually, from what I understand, they did update and make it
Yes, they did,
user-friendly.
yes.
Uh,
And we attached it to,
And I wanted to actually wait until I really sat down with, because in fairness to Pam McCarthy, she developed the relationships with these banking consortiums. You know, so I need to be able to, you know, sit down with her, but I think that we got this new town manager that needs to know what we're doing and what we're asking her to do and not go over his head or anything, you know, which is basically saying, hey, we want to bring these banks together and, you know, tell them what the overall plan is. What does the town need? You know, what does the SRA need? You know, and put together sort of a comprehensive request. You know, that's not too much.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm looking for about $50,000, you know, out of eight banks, you know, and, you know, if, you know, we probably won't get it this fiscal year, but, you know, and if we need to take a look and if we need to pony up a few dollars, to say that we're invested as well, that might go on. $5,000 is usually what they can kind of just, one can sign off on. Yeah. Above that, it's got to probably go to a board. What things should happen? They want to know, are we going to get a banner? Are we going to, where's our name going to be? Because they use it as an advertisement in tax. That's why they have to go to the That's it for me.
All right, thank you. Let's see, item 5 is general liability and directors and officers. So in the packet, you would have found a sheet that listed what we paid last year, what we are being asked to pay this year. We had an increase. Travelers is directors, is that correct? Or
I don't know.
so which Liberty Mutual and Travelers? One does directors, one does
Liberty does
general liability.
general liability.
Yep. So there looks to be a roughly $450 increase in the director's insurance, directors and officers insurance. But yeah, it looks like we have a savings at the bottom. Is that accurate? Are these numbers accurate, John?
That's what they said to me,
Who sent you?
Kathy Osborne.
So what does the asterisk signify?
Where do you see
Yeah.
And she sent another figure today.
What was that figure?
What was that figure?
I want to forward it to you and Reggie.
So just so we're all clear, I want you to know a little bit of the backstory. When there was new paperwork asked for this year by Travelers for our insurance, and that paperwork wanted all sorts of information, which Reggie sent to them. However, part of what he did was send them the realty value of the property that we control. That drove an increase in the cost. The problem I have with that is we have a $10 million umbrella policy paid for by LSC that covers that. So I called Kathy Osborne and says, you need to take that off of there. I want real numbers based on our liquid assets, if you will, investments in the bank. She has done that. And Donna, the number.
She said the new annual premium has been reduced from 3,487 to 3,214
Which
On
is
the-
different than what we see here.
on the directors and officers, because this just came in today.
No.
Yeah, but you needed to, that's important. And
Say that number again, please.
It went up $200.
from last year,
So what we,
a little less than 200 actually.
so it's,
I'm rounding up to.
It went from 3,036
right,
last year to 3,214 this year.
okay.
Okay, that's pretty reasonable in my opinion. What I am a little bit confused about is I was told this went up over $1,000. If you look at Liberty Mutual, you have two line items. One last year was 841, this year it's 500. Is that accurate? Because that means we had a reduction of $341 on that line item for general liability.
Yeah, I mean,
I need to know that that's accurate.
I wonder if it's because of the change.
It could be, but this information wouldn't have included the change that I
Oh,
wrote.
you asked after.
Yeah. What else
No,
did that
this is-
email say?
This is reflective of a previous, it's not reflective of the new numbers. This is
What we
not-
have before us is not reflective of the new number that Donna just read to us, no. So,
And the only reason why we got the latest information was because I contacted Conroy and asked for copies of their insurance policies.
which Kathy asked us to do, and I asked you to do. So I guess the confusion I have is we've got two numbers here, 1,500 and 139.87. Do they need to be combined for the total general liability?
No, the 39.87 is the total of the traveler's policy.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. So in total, we have a,
$100 increase.
yep, I am perfectly okay.
$110.
I immediately went out with estimate. Don't go for anything. No.
Okay, now I do have, because, I read the numbers wrong, my mistake. I was looking at it as we owed $6,000.
Yeah,
And I was saying that was a $3,000 increase. So once I saw that, I immediately went out to get another quote. And I don't have the quote back, but I do recall we had all talked about, maybe it's time to take a look at another insurance company. I did find a broker here in Stoughton on Island Street that does write this stuff, So I sent them the information that we had. I also, once I understood a little bit better about the $10 million insurance policy, I sent him that information and then asked if I can stop by and, try to explain it to him, that, we're already insured for that, and then, sort of make a determination who might be the lowest in terms of cost with the same service and then go forward.
so what I think we as an authority need to do tonight, if my math is right, our total insurance costs for 2023/4 is 3714. That was the 39.87 minus the 273 in savings that we received in the traveler's policy. The currently 3714, what I would like to do is get a motion to approve up to $3,714, which should be the total cost of our insurance if what Donna just read to us is accurate. You have the same number? Okay.
When
So
does the policy expire?
it expires in May, but it takes her 2 weeks to get done. So I don't want to put this off until the May meeting. There's no reason to, honestly.
Yeah.
We can approve this as an up to number.
Yeah.
And if Reggie gets better numbers through another company, he will have the ability to take that proposal and apply it. I just need to know that this will be paid by the proper date. Because we ran into this problem in 2021. And we were
In 2022,
72 and in
All right,
2022.
so I'll make a motion to pay up to the dollar amount.
$3,714.
Up to for, insurance.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion beyond it? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
Nope.
Yeah, you heard it, so you're good.
on board. I'm on board.
All right. So there was an item here, policy discussion for use of office by town boards. This was something actually that was a leftover from a March meeting that we didn't have. The bottom line is I don't really think we have a need to discuss this tonight. In the interest of moving things along. We had gotten a flood of requests to use the office because there was a misinterpretation of what was said. So when the town hall flooded, I happened to be in there and Tom said, oh, we're gonna meet. I said, use my office. We're a public entity. No big deal. Oh, great, thanks. Never happened. But that got turned into, hey, anybody who needs a meeting, just call Mark and Don. Well, that isn't appropriate. It isn't what we offer. So Reggie was working on a policy, but I just don't think we need to talk about it now because that has really settled down over there.
But what I would like people to do, you know, because you will see the if you read it, you'll see the conservatism in me. I thought it was unfair that anybody could use our office, you know, use our electricity, use our bathrooms, and we not be compensated for that. You know, so it's a modest request.
And I agree with you, Reggie, that I don't think that was fair, but it was taken out of context what was offered. What was offered was, you have a flood, we have an office. Okay, we, you know, in the interest of allowing town business to continue in the immediate future, if you need to borrow the office, I'm happy to help you, Tom. That was a one-off. That wasn't a, hey, anybody who needs to schedule a meeting for the next 9 months, give Mark and Don a call.
You know, and I think that, you know,
That's been worked
that,
out, so.
From that, you know, it sort of said, okay, what happens in the future when somebody does want to use this office? If any of us are involved in a particular meeting and it's going to be held here, shouldn't be a charge because we're involved. But if ABC.
We also control the space being a member. There's a difference.
Well, yeah, but you know, if you just have, you know, a meeting and nobody's on that committee, that means somebody has to open up. You know, we've got to clean up. We got to close up because I'm really opposed to even out the keys, you know, to the office, you know. And so there was a slight user fee of, I think it was $30. You know, and you should use it as long as you wanted for that meeting. It wasn't $30 an hour. It was $30 for the meeting. So if the meeting went from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, it was still $30. Came to that number based on our rent, our daily rent, plus the average cost of our monthly utility cost divided by 30 days. And it came out to about $30. You know, and I thought that was very fair, you know, so that it also discourages people that just want to, you know, place to hang out.
Right, well, the CPC had a meeting here.
I'm a member of the CPC. I opened and closed.
I understand that, but we were never notified that there was a CPC meeting. I don't care who comes here, the town hall flooded. I get it.
Right.
There's a.
The CPC
But
has
I'm
actually
just
had
saying,
2 meetings
it
here.
would be nice as a member,
To know
because I always seem like I am left in the dark.
No, Roberta,
You know,
in
well, we're not-
fairness, you have a point. It was not something I advertised to the
No, that's
authority.
fine, but you knew you were having,
I will make it, in the future, I will make a better effort
you
to
know, we
notify.
have a meeting, none of us are not here.
I'll tell you this, and this is.
I don't think, I mean, I.
Right. No, it doesn't matter because nobody's coming here exclusively to open and close the
Right.
space. I'm a part of
Right,
it.
I got it.
We intend to hold our meetings here from the CPC level until we're allowed back into the town hall.
But
However,
then, you know, I complained earlier about us paying to have the bathrooms cleaned when we were here. We say we're on
it gets done
monthly.
monthly anyway.
I understand, but the CPC has a budget too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would be nice if this is an ongoing thing, maybe they could help us out. That's all.
You know,
That can be considered.
you know.
Well, I mean,
Again, you're not, you know, we can have that discussion at our next.
well, I'm just
CPC
saying,
meeting.
it's.
The policy was written for Tom Coulter wants to use this office for the day. This is what it's gonna cost you. Boom. Am I correct in that?
Yeah. And again, you know, these are only, when I write these things down, you know, it really is for discussion and people, I certainly didn't think about that one. that could be added to it, and there's some things in there that could be thrown out, But it really is to encourage discussion, so that when somebody says to us at a date 8 months from now, gee, I'd like to use your building, that we can always go, well, I can't tell you yes, but here's the policy. And that gets us all out of that, so that individually, you don't want me to use the building, or you only let these people use the building because you were friends with them, or whatever it might be. There's a policy, and people need to look into it here.
What do we want to do at this time? Do you want to, as a authority, chew on this policy, make any recommendations via email and vote it at our next meeting? Or are you prepared to vote it now? I don't know. I have no
Wait for the next
interest.
meeting.
Wait the next meeting.
We said.
Yes,
Wait the next meeting.
fair enough. I want to make sure that gets on. AmeriCorps grants request.
Yeah, that was the grant that was,
That expired.
that expired
Yeah.
in March.
Okay, we're not gonna.
I'm sure there will be some others. But,
Mhm. Thank you. SRA email policy and technology upgrades. So we've been getting a number of correspondence from the town that wants us not to use our personal emails. They want us to use the town issued email addresses. They're claiming a security issue. There is some validity to that. If you use a personal email account and by accident something gets attached, you could inadvertently cause the town problems, whereas the town controls the G Suite that all the Stoughton Mass accounts go to and from. I am asking everybody to please use their SRA account. We all have one.
Well, I use the town account, so it's the same.
You have.
Right, I have a Stoughton.
So I don't know if she has that connected, but I only type in our hardback and it comes up
Right.
at Stoughton, Mass. I don't
Right.
care. That's within
Because I
the,
can type in anybody
Right.
in town.
That's within
and it comes
the
up
envelope.
On that
Yeah.
Gmail account.
as
So-
long as it goes
Yeah.
to a stoughtonmass.gov. I have
And
no
you've
concern.
got one too.
Yes,
Oh,
Don set me up on.
Yeah,
Oh,
Donna
so-
is actually gonna have to switch his though, because they may want his back for the new FinCom member. So he can
Wow.
still use our Desmond at Stoughton,
Right.
Mass. However, it's gonna ultimately go through SRA 3.
yeah.
So
Okay, so you're
Because
saying.
the town is running low on one account.
I ain't heard that.
Yeah.
they are, yeah, and I just wanna keep as
Yeah.
many free as we can.
He has an SRA3 account already.
I know he does,
Oh,
but he
okay.
needs our Desmond attached to it. She knows how to do that easily.
Yeah.
Not a big deal. That frees up the one he had from FinCom. That's all I'm
I'm
getting.
probably the most guilty.
I'm just, I am reciting to you what we were
I
told.
would know.
I use my personal email. I tried to send it to you, but I don't have everybody's personal email. Because I do understand, there are some things that, that I think are personal, that I don't want
Right.
to be on the town.
Yeah,
I use
don't
them
have a
both.
packet, so.
Why isn't it in there?
It's not in the end there, we go.
So, well, I'm looking for the quote that was sent to us by Wizards Technology, which is the IT firm we hire on an as-need basis. And it's not in here. They had a couple of recommendations. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to let Matt know that it did not make it into the packet, so it'll have to go on our next meeting.
Okay.
I can give you a brief overview as I know it. They are asking us or recommending to us that we install a firewall for security reasons in this office. They made a couple of other recommendations. I did speak with Trish and got that information to Donna. But at the end of the day, I don't have it in front of me and it didn't make the packet. So it'll be put on May. Let Matt know that something, an error occurred and it did not get into the packet, so we won't have an answer until May. Item 9 is an executive session item. I am choosing tonight not to enter into executive session as we have no relevant new information. I will tell the committee that we had a meeting scheduled in March That meeting ended up being canceled for a number of reasons. One was my health, the other was the town manager. He had a conflict, but the long story short is we're only getting back to it tomorrow. So rather than get into something we can't talk about much, we're gonna put it off until our May meeting, and we will have more information at that time. With that said, is there any new or unanticipated business that anybody wants to talk about tonight?
Just very quickly, we sent, Mr. Manuel a letter, thanking him for his service, 10 or 11 years. 10 or 11 year service
11.
on the board. And was it a recognition, an acknowledgement certificate? Just saying, thank you for your service for the last 10 or 11 years. Give us that how it works.
Oh,
We got our computer.
Yeah.
The cord was missing. He couldn't find it, so we ordered one. We have a cord now. So, but we got the brunt of everything back. He chose to keep his paperwork and he has the right to. So,
there's notes of his notes.
yeah, originally the intent was Janice asked if she could get some boxes, we'll pack it up and get it out of there. We said, sure, gave her the boxes. Laura said, no. So, did you get the boxes back?
No,
You'll have to get the boxes.
I've requested them and
Okay.
she has.
Continue to request.
Yeah. And I'll make a motion to,
I need a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed, abstained? Thank you all and have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
You can kill the head, kill the old thing and stuff.